welcome back to Garden Studio. I'm Tessa Pinner, a designer and gardener in upstate South Carolina, Zone 8A. In today's video, I thought it would be fun to just bring you along for my last minute decorating. We're doing some Christmas hosting, and I frankly had just not finished. And nothing could be easier than just foraging, bringing things indoors from the garden. I'll finish wreaths to hang in the windows, do a couple of all gold arrangements, which is a thing I have been loving this holiday season. So easy, and I'll show you how. And then just bring in other types of greenery to festoon various areas and just bring that little bit of extra cheer. I also have never shown the inside of our house at all on any of these videos for this entire year of doing YouTube. And if you're the kind of person who loves interiors, who loves a home tour, then you will get a little glimpse of what I like to call our English cottage. Very first step is to gather my materials with a focus on evergreens, but also some other things as well. I have arborvitae foliage, I get magnolia foliage. This here is a wild clematis that I'm pulling off these hollies. It's very beautiful in the fall, just self-seeds aggressively and pops up everywhere. Sometimes it's good to include things that you wouldn't expect that don't feel totally holiday, like bamboo foliage. I have the last of the winterberry stems to tuck into this outdoor arrangement. I love to have an arrangement here to anchor the view, but I'm not going to be replacing it all the time. Through the winter, I'll just occasionally update my dried arrangement with some new pops of life. The only even mildly time-consuming thing that I'm doing is to make a couple of wreaths. The method that I'm showing you here, I actually learned from a florist, and you could use it to attach to any kind of wreath base. These are grapevine, which is great because it means even if I don't cover it up entirely, I still think the base is attractive and natural. So you take a roll of thin wire, secure it to the back of the wreath, and then basically start wrapping small or large bundles of greenery to the wreath. And you're just spiraling the wire almost like you would a ribbon, holding everything in, pinning it in as you go. It's extremely easy. And it's also going to be really easy to remove when I go to store these wreath bases, because it's not a whole bunch of little pieces. It's maybe one or two for the whole wreath that I cut. I'll be able to unwind, compost the greenery, and put the base of the wreath away. I find that it can be really helpful to actually hang up the wreath for the final touches, because I'm trying to envision what it's going to look like on the wall or hanging on a window. So I like to hang it up and then get my last little bits that go in, which are some gold painted hydrangea petals and the last of the winterberries. I have just one color of velvet ribbon that I'm using this year, a beautiful kind of cobalty blue. I'm using the ribbon as my wreath hanger so I can incorporate that pop of blue and also have an easy way to suspend it once I get it inside. Now that the wreaths are made, it's time to take everything inside and start decorating. I have about 5 small nails along the top of my window molding in this kitchen window that I just leave up all year because I use them every season for hanging things and for greenery. They're pretty discreet, and it means I can just hang this wreath right up without having to add anything additional. The greenery is a little bit more picky, but I find with the nails I can use very small pieces of wire and wire the branches to those nails. And basically once they start to fall down, I know I've put too many. I do as much as it will hold and then I call it done. It's a really easy way to get the look of a garland without having to wire it all together and then hang it. I just basically poke it up there and wire it to the nails right there. Now it's time to make those gold arrangements that I mentioned in the intro. I did this earlier this month. I did an experiment where I spray painted hydrangea blooms gold for decorating my front porch arch. I'll put a link to that video in the description. I thought it was so pretty that I decided to make a couple of indoor arrangements, totally dry, totally fuss-free, that were all gold. The base of those is hydrangeas, and then I pulled a couple of other things from the garden too. The key with the spray painting is spray paint inside a cardboard box, kind of like a little spray booth, and use materials that are sturdy. You don't want anything too succulent, anything with a lot of water content in it still. You want to make sure that whatever you decide to spray paint is already totally dry. The dried hydrangeas worked great because they're really papery. Then the other two things that I used primarily were echinacea seed heads. They have a really interesting sculptural shape, again, totally dry. The final plant that I used is a seed head from a tall yellow evening primrose. So the trio of the hydrangea and then the two seed heads make a really interesting textural arrangement that I can keep with absolutely no fuss for as long as I want. I have two more spots for foliage decoration. One is the top of a bookcase that has always looked like it needed some green to me, but it's a really dark spot in my house with no direct window light, so I can't grow a plant there. So this is my chance to get some green up on that bookcase. And because it's high and a perfect chance for some draping foliage, I used the clematis foliage here. I added a sweet little bow on some florist wire that I tucked into the center of the bigger wreath with an extra set of tails just to give a really nice drape when it comes to hanging in the window. The second spot is the top of my piano. I always remove what normally lives here and put my nutcrackers and incense men that I inherited from my grandmother's instead, just for the Christmas season. It always looks a little bit bare to me, so I like to add some greenery and foliage back in. In this case, large magnolia leaves give a nice pop of texture, and they're fine without water for a long time, as well as a little more tracery of the clematis foliage. There are always endless opportunities for greenery inside. I've done a large swag garland over the arch between my dining and living rooms before. I've done doorways. Someday I'm going to do my staircase. The options are endless, and I think the key is just to pick a couple of spots, really whatever you have time for, whatever is going to bring you the most joy. Focus on those, and then you can always try something different next year. Can you tell I'm talking to myself? There's always more I want to do, but this little bit brought just that extra dose of cheer. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful week with your families, in your own gardens, and as they say in England, Happy Christmas.